Have you ever made a decision in the heat of the moment and regretted it immediately afterward? Have you felt that rushing can be your greatest enemy? In this video, we will explore an ancient story of wisdom, where a ninja master reveals the true power of patience. If you're seeking more emotional control, clarity in your choices, and a more balanced life, this lesson could transform the way you handle your daily challenges. Patience is not just about waiting, it's about acting at the right moment. Are you ready to discover how this virtue can change your life? Stay with us. In the heart of a bamboo forest, in a remote corner of Mi province, the gentle rustle of leaves echoed around a small courtyard. There, the ancient, with his long gray hair tied in a simple knot, sat beneath the shade of an old pine tree, watching as rays of sunlight filtered through the treetops. His eyes were as deep as ancient lakes, and his posture reflected a man who had faced more than the world could ever understand. Before him, his young pupil listened intently, eager for another lesson, another story that carried the weight of centuries. "This is our story," he began, his voice like a whisper from the past. "When I was younger," the ancient continued, "there was a village hidden in the hills of Nara, known only to those who mastered the art of patience. In that village lived a man named Hiroshi, known for his courage and skill with the sword. Yet, his greatest flaw was impatience. He believed that strength and speed could solve any problem." The ancient paused, observing the young pupil before him. One day, Hiroshi was given a mission of great importance, to protect a small caravan carrying something of immense value, something that could change the fate of many. But in his rush to reach the destination, he ignored signs of danger. He hurried. Hiroshi crossed mountains and valleys, always in a rush, always believing that the faster he went, the sooner he'd be safe. But by ignoring the footprints and tracks along the way, he fell into an ambush set by a group of bandits who had been watching his movements from afar. The ambush was swift and ruthless, and he had no time to react properly. His strikes, though skilled, were uncoordinated, his mind racing ahead of his body, always anticipating the next move without being present in the moment. The ancient paused for a long moment, his eyes narrowing slightly as he gazed into the distance. When the sun set that day, Hiroshi found himself alone. The caravan plundered and his mission failed. He sat by the edge of a river and reflected. Finally, he understood that his haste had not only blinded him, but made him vulnerable. He had ignored the subtle signs, the small details that could have saved the mission. Patience, he realized, is not the absence of movement, but the mastery of time. The ancient looked at the young pupil, who sat still, absorbing every word. "I found Hiroshi that night, sitting by the river, defeated. He asked me where he had gone wrong, and I merely guided him to see for himself. You ran," I told him, "but you did not see. You fought, but you weren't present. The true warrior knows when to act and when to wait. The mind must be where the body is, not a step ahead nor a step behind." As the wind softly swept through the bamboo grove, the ancient picked up a small leaf from the ground, holding it delicately between his fingers. Hiroshi learned, after much time, that patience is a weapon sharper than any blade. He returned to protecting caravans, but this time he observed every detail, listened to every whisper of the wind, and with each step, he was present. When the ambush came again, he wasn't caught by surprise. He was prepared, not by the quickness of his sword, but by the calm of his mind. The ancient continued to leaf through the pages of his weathered journal. Hiroshi became a master of patience, and with that, his missions never failed again. He realized that time can be both an enemy and an ally. In the art of ninjutsu, it is said that the best victory is the one achieved without raising a sword. Patience teaches that victory is often a matter of waiting for the right moment to act. The pupil, intrigued, asked the ancient, "Master, how can we apply this lesson today in such a hurried world?" The ancient smiled slightly. "Patience is as necessary now as it was in Hiroshi's time. We live in a world where everything feels urgent, where every second seems like a race against time. But the greatest mistakes are made when we rush, when we let impatience control our actions. Just as Hiroshi learned, we must learn to be present, to observe, to wait for the right moment. The ancient gazed into the horizon, where the shadows of the evening began to stretch long. Patience, my young one, does not mean inaction. It is the wisdom of knowing when to move and when to be still. There is no point in going with the flow of time if you are not conscious of the present moment. Just as the river flows, so too does life. But it is up to us to decide when to swim against the current and when to follow its natural course. The ancient took a deep breath, absorbing the moment as the wind caressed the leaves. He looked at the pupil and, with a firm and wise voice, said, "And for you watching, know that you are also part of this journey." In the modern world, we are pushed into a frantic rhythm where it seems there's never time to stop, reflect, or wait. But life's greatest battles are not won with haste, but with patience and clarity. Just as Hiroshi learned, we need to understand that often, true strength lies in knowing when to act and when to wait. Patience is not just a passive virtue. It is a powerful tool that shapes our decisions and teaches us to see beyond appearances. The ancient looked once more toward the horizon, now painted with the colors of dusk, and continued, "Whether in our daily decisions, our relationships, or our dreams, there will always be time to stop, observe, and act with purpose. This, my young one, is our story. The story of all who learn to walk the path with patience and wisdom. Join us in the next lesson, and together we will continue walking this path of growth and learning. If this message touched your heart, share it with those who need to hear it, and together, we will continue to strengthen the web of wisdom that transforms the world.